Welcome to the April 16th meeting of the Oak Point City Council. If you'll please silence your phones. The meeting is called to order at 6:03 p.m. and we'll start, we have, every council member is present with the exception of Mayor Pro Tem Dufford, and he may be arriving late. So we have a quorum, and we'll start with the invocation. Our gracious Father, thank you for our beautiful city. Please bless and protect every resident and every staff member. Guide us to do our very best for the people of Oak Point, make the best decisions. Open our eyes to see those that are in need and how to best help them. In God, we still trust. Amen.
Amen. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance to the American flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, one indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And now to the Texas flag. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one indivisible. That was a big hit up.
Texas. Apologies, I discovered that in the clock is not accurate.
It's okay.
The only one that lays something.
Agenda item number 4, swearing in of our new police officer.
I'm Lieutenant Sipple, stepping in for Chief Tattoo. He's in a conference this week for the Chiefs conference. This is Officer E. He is just started with us about a week ago. He's gone through a 2-week pre-FTO phase where we kind of taught him some other things, and then he's starting on patrol here tomorrow. No, Friday. Right? My days are all mixed up. I'm Monday. So Mr. E was born in Baltimore, Maryland. He moved to Texas in 2008 because of his father's job in the Secret Service. So we thank Mr. E for his service there. Graduated from Denton Guyer High School, so he's been in the area. Grew up in Argyle. Completed his associate's degree. He's currently working on his Bachelor of Science in Criminal Justice at Midwestern State University. Comes to us with some prior experience from the Dallas Police Department, and is looking forward to working here in the Oak Point Police Department now. And in free time, likes to go to the gym and hang out with his girlfriend, who is also sitting in front of us today. Now you're me.
Andy, it's so nice to meet you.
You as well.
Welcome to Oak Point. We're glad you're here.
Thank you so much.
Do you have a copy of
I
it?
do.
I'm going to let you just read it instead of me reciting it to you and repeating. Is that okay?
All right, yes ma'am, sounds good. I, Matthew Reed, do solemnly swear that I will faithfully execute the duties of a police officer for the city of Oak Point, Denton County, in the state of Texas, and I will do my best. I will do the best to my ability to preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution and the laws of the United States and this state, so help me God. Thank you. I will welcome. Very good.
Thanks, sir.
Sounds good.
Thank you for coming. We love welcoming our new police officers. We're glad you're here. Agenda item number 5, items of community interest. Joni?
We have Jennifer here tonight, so I'm going to let her talk on that since she's our event person.
So I don't have much, but I just wanted to update everybody that we had a huge success at our Spring Fest event. We did see a few of you, council members. And then I also wanted to let you know that the Parks Board was there. They set up a booth and that went over very well also. The next item of interest is Spring Fest. Freedom Fest, we officially have a date and that's gonna be June 28th. So look for some posts about that and we're excited to plan for that.
Thank you to everyone on staff that helped with Spring Fest. It was a wonderful event. Everyone had a great time. Thank you for all your hard work.
Yeah, I have a comment about that as well. I was extremely impressed with all the organization and how everything came about at Spring Fest. It was a fabulous event. There were so many people there having a great time, and it was fabulous. Thank you all the staff for what you've done. And also want to thank staff for what they've done to support the polo tournament that came through last month, which was also a great success. And we had some report from the Millers on how pleased the Polo Association was with what the city did to welcome them. So I wanted to make a note of that as well. And thank you all for what you've done for that.
Any other comments for community interest?
I've got something.
Okay, go ahead.
So this is a kind of a warning thing. The Texas Senate has a bill called Senate Bill 673. It would strip away our ability to zone. It would allow people to build living quarters in their backyards and rent them out, small lots, uncontrollably small lots, all kinds of bad things. So I just would like everybody who's worried about that kind of thing to write our Texas senator and say, not a good idea.
That's Tam Parker. Thank you, Scott. Public input. We have a couple of requests for public input. Jack, I'm sorry.
Hey Jeff, when's a good time for Wayne to give us an update on some of the things going on in the city?
Now could be a good time.
Go
If
ahead.
you,
I don't know if you want to share all of it, but you know it's share or can't share. But
Sure,
when we go to personnel development, I think we should probably need to know about it.
okay. Yes, we did have some personnel hirings the last 2 to 3 weeks. We have hired Stephen Taylor for our new code enforcement officer. He has a lot of experience. He was the code enforcer for the city of Carrollton. He was there for 8 years. He's worked with, let's see, the names of the entity were, I had it out here a while ago. Okay, yes. We have just a consulting company, Burgess Construction Consultants. He was with them for 5 years, I believe, and in 3 years, he's been working with Burgess as a quality control analyst at the DFW airport. They're putting in 2 new terminals, and it is a lot of hard work because that thing goes on. The work goes on there 24 hours a day, so they have to have a quality control person there, and he is one of those. And he lives here in Wild Ridge. And he said, I'm tired of driving to the airport and working crazy hours. And we're very fortunate to have him because he's a very accomplished code enforcer. So we are actually changing that whole department now. It has been underneath the police, but we're going to move it to the admin area. And we're going to create a director of community development that will be over the code enforcement as well as the building permits. And we need someone that's out there watching and working with the developers to make sure that our city is protected and within its codes and everything is handled properly. And so now we'll report that director position will now report up through the city manager. and it's gonna be very helpful.
Well, I got one question about that. Thank you so much for so far. But what do we do about it, Don? What do we do about budget? Do we have to adjust that, or we just internally adjust it about where the money's coming from, where it's going, kind of thing?
No, we're fine because we had some positions budgeted that we didn't feel the need to fill.
Okay.
So we just kind of
We
replaced
com-
those.
yeah. We combined a couple of positions to be able, that we didn't hire, to be able to make this happen.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Go ahead. What's next?
Sure. We also, and he's here today, have hired Harold Watkins, right here. He is our new fire chief. And he has 15 years of fire chief experience. He was with the city of Melissa, the city of Burke Burnett. He's been with Travis County ESD1 and perhaps Brazos County EDS2, right?
Yes.
And so he's very happy to be here. I think you have family here.
Closer than where I am now.
Yeah.
My daughter works for the city of McKinney, so she's looking for a permanent place on the north end of the DFW area. And then my parents back home are about an hour and a half east of here. So I'm looking to get back to, not necessarily out of the Brazos Valley, but back to the Metro Mass.
So we're excited to have him. He's going to be a real asset to our community. So we've also been hiring for the director of community development. We had an excellent applicant, and we actually made an offer. Now, whether this particular person was moving from outside and she was having some interviews, and so we'll wait and see. We haven't heard back yet, but we have been trying very hard to find that director of community development. We also have interviews going on for a city secretary and a finance director. We have these two here that have been a tremendous asset for our city, but they're retiring. They've earned their retirement, and we hate to see them go, but we will carry on and as best we can. Also, I wanted to, those are primarily the personnel issues that we're happening. We've negotiated some contracts to help us. The fact we're hiring a code enforcement person that has a lot of experience and a lot of certificates, we're going to be working to pull some of those actual functions back in-house. And we renegotiated our Safe Built Texas contract where they do most of our plans and building inspections, and we're going to bring them in. We're going to keep them on board because one person can't handle everything. But we're going to try to have a person who can handle some of it, with the certificates that it has. Other than that, we're moving on. We did have the McCormick Road Update Project. We presented that last meeting. We have, I had Michael review it, and I reviewed it, and we signed off, and the engineering is underway for the roundabout.
That was the only other one on top of it. Good, thank you.
Bet.
Appreciate you.
I got a question. Excuse me, but did you have time to look at the contract between DISD and Oak Point regarding the use of their tennis courts? And I ask that because it is in the contract of Crossroads that they can use the high school to become tennis courts, and I was wondering if we were excluded or they just decided
I
not
haven't
to.
looked at it, but we can.
And regarding road permits,
Road.
what was it?
Road impact
Road
fees.
impact fees. The house down, or the lot down Cedar Pine, the neighbors estimate there's been 200 to 250 truckloads of dirt. And down to that lot, and I was wondering, are they paying it? How do we make them pay? How does that happen?
Okay.
Oh, yeah, the road, not Cedar Pine.
Yeah, Plug Road.
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah.
I mean, we'll have to get that as an agenda item to talk about that.
That would be good to
If we could
know.
add that as a future agenda item. It's not on the agenda,
Well,
that item.
okay, but they're at it now, so.
Yeah.
Wow. That's a lot of load.
It is, it's mysterious there. They've built like 3 feet taller pad than every house around.
More than that. More like 6 feet.
Thank you, Lynn.
Mayor, may I add to the
Yes, please.
update that Wayne gave? And I've been meaning to kind of give you guys a report from the things that the employees accomplished before Wayne got here. We're really grateful to have Wayne, and he's helped us out a lot. Before he got here, the employees pulled together after, Stephen was no longer here, and they really accomplished a lot. Right before Stephen left, Donna was able to get him to get the portable building ordered, and then Donna has ordered all the furniture. It's lovely inside. If you haven't seen it, you should stop by and take a look at it. And that's where Vicki has moved. That's where the city planner or the community development director will be, and the code enforcement officer. We also had in the budget, well, and let me back up and say that the police and fire department both assisted us in getting the electrical done and the internet done out there. Then we had in the budget for a new phone system, and Chief Tattoo went out and looked at different companies, and then we selected one, and then Lieutenant Sipple was involved with the implementation of the new phone system. So we got that going. And then we had a little issue in the lobby one day, and Wayne decided, that was after Wayne came, and he decided we needed some more security cameras. So Lieutenant Sipple took care of the security cameras, got them all, he installed them himself. And I'm sure I'm missing a lot of things, but I just wanted you to know that you have a great team here, and that they all pitched in and got things done while we didn't have a city manager.
Thank you so much. That's great. Okay, anything else for community interest? If not, we'll go to public input. Jack Brown, would you like to come up and speak?
I am Jack Brown, 615 Woodridge Drive in Woodridge Estates. At the last council meeting, the Tumazon development was discussed, and I spoke in concern about the huge traffic impact that would arise in our neighborhood if two streets at the southwestern corner of that development were connected through to two stub streets that are in our neighborhood. And I'd like to point out that 375 homes, averaging probably 2 cars per home, is 750, 800 cars that will be added to this area. And most of them are going to be going in and out of there to 720 one way or another. The discussion centered around the fact that Shahan Prairie was built and engineered for a volume of traffic. It's 4 lanes. It has a center median that divides it. It has 0 residences facing it with driveways that intersect with cars moving in and out. It has a higher speed limit, and it ends at a traffic light that already is in place with multiple lanes to divert traffic south and north on 720. My street, Woodridge Drive, ends with 2 lanes intersecting 720 at the south end of our neighborhood. No traffic light. TxDOT has already turned down a request for a traffic light at that location. People get backed up there trying to wait for a safe opportunity to pull out with high volumes of high-speed traffic moving by. Traffic backs up in our neighborhood, people get impatient, they take risks, wrecks occur. It's happened multiple times. We even have wrecks at the 720 Shahan Prairie accident despite the traffic light being there. So this is a nightmare scenario for us that I read in the summary of that meeting a couple of days later, talking about the approval by this council of that development subject to a modification that would require locked gates at the 2 intersecting streets that could only be unlocked and passed by emergency vehicles. I would also point out that Mr. Coker spoke sort of in favor of what I was saying by pointing out that the 2 main entrances to this neighborhood from Shahan Prairie meet all of the requirements for emergency vehicle access. So I would think it would be rare, if ever, that they would have to go through those gates. But imagine my concern and my neighbor's concern when we read in a summary of that last council meeting, that thus in the future, if these traffic problems are otherwise solved, the gates could be removed, giving more access. I'm here to tell you that that cannot happen without a revolt in my neighborhood. We have narrow 2-lane residential streets. Unlike Sheehan Prairie, there's vehicles parked on both sides of the streets, up and down the neighborhood, sometimes opposite one another on the same spot of road, leaving us with single file traffic to weave between them, trying to take turns moving through our neighborhood. The thought of 200 or 300, even if most of those 800 or 900 cars travel Sheehan Prairie to get to where they're going, even a fourth or a third of those coming through our neighborhood would shock the system beyond description. The backups at the intersection with 720 would be vastly worse. There would be a lot more wrecks. There would be a lot more freight nerves. This just cannot happen. So I'm here to ask that the council put an item on the agenda for next month to revisit this situation. That will give neighbors in my neighborhood who weren't even aware of this subdivision being discussed an opportunity to come and talk about their concerns and see what, if anything, could be done to give us assurance that the blocked access for public use at that intersection, at those two intersecting streets, will not happen.
I'm sorry to exceed your time.
Okay, I have a better suggestion that I'll present at that opportunity than just putting blocked pages.
Thank you for your input. Gerald Honig, would you like to be next? Thank you.
With your permission, what I have to say will take about six and a half minutes to make my points. And it's relevant to what we're going to be discussing later tonight.
We gave Jack 4, we'll let you have 4 also. Is that good? Please
I'll
state
do
your
my
name and
best.
your address for us. Thank you.
My name is Gerald Honig. My wife and I live in Oak Point. My wife Jill. First of all, I'd like to thank the council and the mayor and the city administration and our police department for the efforts up to this point to address the issue of short-term rentals in our
Give
city.
Gerald, can you give us your address, please? Your address.
My address, 931 Coral Cove.
Thanks.
I'm reasonably sure that nobody wants to live in close proximity to a short-term rental. Short-term rental is essentially a business. It's even categorized as a hotel. They even pay a hotel tax. So let's call it what it is. It's a hotel in a residential neighborhood. We all know that short-term rentals do not do well in neighborhoods. The problem as I see it, it pits the rights of the neighborhood residents who live in the neighborhood against the rights of the remote owners who do not live in the neighborhood, often live in a different town or a different state. Most residents move to our community because they desire a residential area surrounded by nature, an area that's quiet, peaceful, and safe. They develop relationships with their neighbors, and they call Oak Point their home. STR owners are not invested in our neighborhood in the same way that people who actually live here are. They have no community relationship other than operating a business or hotel for profit. The owner of an STR can potentially earn 3 to 4 times more profit than if the home was leased as a traditional monthly lease. That's why STRs are proliferating everywhere. The owners of STRs don't vet the renters. Once a renter is paid for the rental through the app, through VRBO or Airbnb, they get sent a door code and they're in. And that's it. They make their money by keeping these homes rented. In looking at the STRs in our area that are on VRBO and Airbnb, most stay surprisingly booked, especially on the weekends. That means our area is ripe for more investor-owned STRs. Every home for sale in our neighborhood is a potential STR. Did a little research on the ordinances of neighboring cities concerning STRs. Oak Point has a reasonably good ordinance, not quite as good as Fort Worth or Plano. Fort Worth, Grapevine, and Plano restrict STRs from residential areas. Grapevine only allows them in multi-family housing. I guess they figure that apartment dwellers are used to the noise and the traffic. Denton has a cap of 1,000 short-term rentals allowed in our city, and that number I find disturbing, that they have to cap it at 1,000. Where is it gonna end? Little Elm revokes the registration permit of an XTR for 6 months after a conviction for a second violation of the ordinance. Additionally, most of our surrounding cities have online portals or email links to report STR violations in our city. I love the language that they use in Plano's ordinance because they talk about community fabric. And this is from the wording in their ordinance. Community fabric can be negatively impacted because of the transience of short-term renters, impacts the ability of other residents to have predictability in resolving issues with neighboring properties, because those relationships cannot easily be established on a short-term basis. Relationships are what makes community fabric of Oak Point special. That's why a lot of us are here. In closing, I'd like to ask the town of Oak Point to consider revising the current ordinance regarding short-term rentals, or at least enforcing the short-term rental ordinance we have now as much as possible, and to create an avenue for an online or email reporting of violations. I would further ask that the neighbors of STRs in Oak Point be vigilant in reporting violations with the intention of keeping our home of Oak Point safe and peaceful while preserving the very reasons many of us call Oak Point home. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chair.
Amy, would you like to see next?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Candy Risher, 921 Sapphire Ridge. I know you guys are about to enter budget season. I think you start budget talks in May. So I wanted to come to the meeting tonight, ask you to consider setting aside funds to do a full repair of the street that I live on, Sapphire Ridge in Emerald Sound. In some portions of the street, the asphalt has receded from the original roadbed by up to 2 feet. It's quickly turning into a gravel road. And what's left is held together by tar stripes and asphalt patches. So it's getting worse and worse by the day. And I'd just like to ask that you consider doing just a full gut and repavement on at least that street in Emerald Sound. I think right now it's probably objectively the worst street in the neighborhood. So I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you. Agenda item number 7, presentation and discussion of the following reports. The financial report for March 2025. Council, do you have any questions?
I do have a question. There was, Donna, there was a bunch of charges for apparently Glenwood Suites in Denton.
That's where Wayne is
Wayne?
staying.
Is that where you live? Oh, I thought you had a question.
I'm off that off my list too. I have the same question.
Any other questions on the
I have some. Scott, you done?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, bear with me. Donna, can you go 01, page 2 of the 2014, page 2, 0147, 471, 600?
What's that called? Is it
One.
Mayor?
You're looking at other revenue?
Yeah, other revenue, what is that? I know I actually probably asked it half a dozen times before, but never stick.
I will probably have to look that up. I don't know that by memory. I know we did receive a check from TML for around $27,000 when we got that ice in and it damaged one of the sheds out there that Public Works uses. So that money is sitting in there until they get it repaired. I'd have to look at the details for the rest of it.
Okay,
I can look that up and email it to you.
all right, one more question, right to the one. 0148, 48330, which is on the same page there, it's the Crossville Trend Security. Why are we so far behind on that?
They pay quarterly. So probably the next one just hasn't come in yet.
Okay. And one more, that is 01200, 650, 430, the vehicle maintenance. Why is this behind?
That one, I would have to defer to our interim fire chief. So I'm sure some of that is, did we have some repairs on the mini pumper?
No, that could be all the emissions repairs to the engines that were so costly, the DEF heater and the DEF pump that went out on it, along with, there were some maintenance items that needed to be taken care of on engine 632, its last PM for pump maintenance and things of that nature. Initially did not pass pump test, so there had to be some repairs on that as well, so that it was certified for pump testing, and some of that money comes from that as well.
We budgeted 25,000, we're at 67 already, fine, so. Sounds like there's a legitimate excuse for it.
Yeah, sounds like we gained a lot of additional vehicles and maybe are under budgeted for maintenance of it. We probably need to look at that next year.
Credit cards, hotel, we got rid of that one. That's it.
Okay. Municipal court report for March 2025. Council, do you have any questions? Jennifer's here, it's a good time to ask. Jennifer, when are we gonna get more money for the city? When they pay.
When they pay, yes.
Okay. Permits report for March 2025.
I have a comment on that one. As usual, I have a spreadsheet, which. Johnny, can you pull that up?
Yeah.
So everybody else can see the spreadsheet there, all we talk about, when knows what understands it.
Yeah.
Basically takes what we've taken in so far in revenues, the budget projection, and projects what we're gonna get for the rest of the year, and compares that to what we budgeted.
I promise I thought it was saved on here, but I don't see it now, John.
That's fine.
I'm sorry.
As of, we're ahead on property taxes. We're ahead on franchise fees, but we're way back on permits. We're, as of right now, with the permits, again, permits come and go, but as of right now, it's more than $500,000 municipal by the end of the year.
So Wayne's gonna tell you about a big bunch coming in, right?
Oh,
Just coming in.
absolutely. We
Should have a
handed out
second
this
sheet.
sheet.
Yeah, it's
Okay,
attached.
you look at the sheet, we basically, I know it's been promised, but we have approved phase 7 and phase 8 for Wild Ridge to come in. And those are beginning, if you look at the sheet was handed in March, we had 11, and you're right, that was a small number that was issued and paid for. And that's what's in the number now in terms of the earnings, okay? But for April, Vicky's been working very hard, okay, to get those building permits done, and there's 7 issued, paid for, there's 16 issued but not paid for yet. Okay, so there's 23. We've got 4 awaiting approval, and we've got 12 approved, waiting for her to finalize it.
So that's 39.
Yeah, and those things got run between $6,000 all the way up to $8,000, $9,000 each. So that's gonna be a hefty amount of money coming in here pretty soon, and they're still coming. I mean, this is just what she's tracking right now.
She's
I
very
noticed
busy.
that Parks, Candy's, the chair of Parks, got a large payment this past month attributed to license and permits, so that's very good.
And of course, when the Bloomfield comes in and starts doing their 500 homes, multiply that by $6,000 to $8,000, and you got some money.
40 permits times 8,000 is 320,000, so that's over half of the board missing.
Yeah.
So we'll be okay, but I just want to make note of that. Okay.
No, you were right to point it out, because it has been sort of a slow period.
For a long time.
John, when you look at this, do you look at just a linear
Yeah, linear.
expectation?
Yeah.
And we all know that this thing is not gonna be linear, right? It's gonna come and go.
It's gonna be a very dry period, and then we're gonna get very wet.
Yeah. So, I mean, I get it, month over month.
Well, it's
Month
actually
over
not-
last year, we may not be on point, but we need to look at
I understand.
as it's going out.
I understand what you're saying, but it's actually not month over month, it's year to date, basically.
Well, it's year to date, but
But it's waiting.
you know, we have an expectation that there's gonna be things coming on board.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, are y'all done? Can we go into police department report?
Yes.
Police department report for March 2025. Lieutenant Sippel, would you help us? What would you like to tell us about
I know we're probably gonna look at the one number on there with the property crimes being up 200%, but we go from almost nothing to 3. It is a big percentage. We had a couple of criminal mischiefs, things like that, nothing major. That's really what drove that number.
So the percentage looks bad, but it's
It looks
not.
bad, but it's really not that bad. And the crimes that were committed weren't that bad either, so, obviously, we don't want the crime, but, things happen. So just minor things for that. Traffic accidents were up, patrolling, you can do so much, but, like has been brought up, some people take risks, which is what leads to a lot of these traffic accidents. So that's kind of everything on our stats for that. I'm sure everybody's seen the arrest we made at the school that kind of made a big Facebook post. We had some issues with the father, and he was taken into custody at school. It wasn't really a threat to the school. But that's kind of been resolved.
And he wasn't inside the school causing a problem, right?
No, he was there visiting his, I don't know what I'm going to say about it, but he was there visiting his children. And that's kind of where some of the issue was. So once we found out about Detective Harding, they did a forensic interview and got all the information we needed. And that's when we were able to obtain the warrants. And he's no longer allowed there. So if he is caught there, then that would just be another reason to go back to jail. We've done things to ensure some steps for the school safety, kid safety. Little Elm ISD knew about it before it happened. So everybody was informed kind of what was going on. It wasn't just a surprise, they showed up. Everybody knew. It looked bad on Facebook and everybody kind of reads into things a little bit different. But we made sure it was done safely and no children were in harm's way or anything like that. The ordinance stuff and the short-term rentals, I know is a hot topic. Like we've already brought up, we do have a new code enforcement guy. Wayne and I have talked a lot about some of the code enforcement stuff we're looking at doing. Also looking at possibly enforcing some zoning issues to help enhance our enforcement in those areas. So that I'm sure will help as well. I know the short-term rentals has been kind of a pain. The ones that we've dealt with, specifically the Coral Code, they've been cooperative. I know every time we've had officers go there, we get calls on the weekends, every time somebody's there. We've gone to the house and told everybody that, we need to leave if they're violating our ordinance. And so far, we haven't had issues with them cooperating and leaving and contacting the owners and letting them know that they've been in violation. So we've taken quite a bit of enforcement on that. And I know that we're trying to do as much as we can and keep those points away from the old ones. So.
Has there been any recurrence since the last blow up on Coral Code?
I don't think there's anything that's happened in the last 2 weeks or so. I know the first 2 weekends they were open, we had a ton of issues. I even reached out to the homeowner myself and was like, y'all have got to do something to rectify this. This is not starting out well. So we've talked about just different things they need to do, making sure they posted their the ordinance and the rules and everything they need to abide by. So I know they've made some changes there. We're also looking at the doing inspections. So setting up inspections on the short-term rentals to make sure they're abiding by all of our rules and everything's posted correctly, and kind of just going over all the kind of infractions that they can face and fines and fees and everything that they could be imposed if they don't follow our ordinances.
Thank you, Lieutenant.
I've got 2 questions on your statistics. See, drug and alcohol increased 40%. Is that more drug or more alcohol?
I have to go back and double check. I know we've had quite a few DWIs. And we picked up, one of the things we also want to get a grant for that doesn't cost the money for the city for us to enforce are DWI grants, which will actually pay for our officers to go out and do enforcement like that. So that's one of the other things we are looking at. So I'll just keep doing that off the road.
Well, I'm concerned about that, but I'm specifically interested in the increase or the level of drug traffic that's actually potentially.
We haven't really seen it. It's stayed about pretty level between drug activity. We haven't really seen them rise as much of that.
All right, and then my second question is traffic accidents. Is there a particular intersection or space where we're seeing an increase?
It's kind of really the same ones. It's usually Cottonwood, Woodridge, Martop, Lloyd's. It's the ones that, a lot of them, like you have the corners, like the Lloyd's, I used to live down Lloyd's myself, so making a left turn out of there is sketchy at times. You've got that curve, you've got people moving pretty quick, so that's what a lot of it is, people just taking risks, you know. I personally, coming to work when I used to live down there, I'd go and make my left turn, and I'd have someone not want to wait, and they'd go around me and make a left in front of me, and I'm like, where are you going? So it's people not paying attention. That's what the majority of it is.
That's all I have. Thank you very much.
Okay, I've got two questions for you. Last month, Chief was on the verge of putting reflectors on Martingale, which is great, it looks great. But I also suggest they put a couple on the median turning left on the Martingale that people have complained about hitting that curve. And they didn't get put in. Is there some reason that didn't happen?
Honestly, I have no idea. I can make a note and I'll find out, I can let you know.
Okay.
So the,
Are you talking about turning left from Yacht Club?
No, turning left on 720 on the Martingale, going north.
That might be a text time issue, right?
It could be, but they're not gonna complain about two little reflectors.
so left off of 720 onto Mark.
Yes.
Doing left.
Yeah.
North, go west.
Northbound and west.
It's kind of a tapered curve, but still you don't want to hit it.
Okay, I will find out.
And the other thing is, have you heard about hoverboard solicitors that have been harassing people in Eagles Landing?
I know we had some solicitors we dealt with very recently, and, Emerald Sound, but I have not heard of anything.
Well, the last few days they've been driving around on the hoverboards and sneaking up on people, and even if they have those soliciting signs, and, you know, it's being a nuisance.
I will double check. I know if it's been in the last couple of days, I've been at the rifle range, we've been doing training, so I haven't been here once, this last Monday or Tuesday.
Can we get those signs, we don't call 911 signs? Hand it out.
Scott, if you'll let the residents know to call us or call the PD.
I did tell them, call
Yeah,
police.
so that they can go out and check. Now, if they have a solicitor's permit, if they display that, then they're legit. But if they can't show you a solicitor's permit, let us know so that we can get the PD out right away.
Apparently is the case. Okay.
I don't believe we have very many solicitor permits out at all right now, so there really shouldn't be anybody out.
Yeah, well, there's so much space between houses, this hoverboard is like a new thing. I mean, zoom in between the houses really quick.
And the risk is?
Can they?
Run over somebody?
Lots of them.
What's the concern?
That they're solicitors without a permit.
Anything else for police department? We're going to fire department report for March 2025. Gary?
If I may, two things. First of all, city manager kind of touched upon it. We're happy to welcome Chief Watkins to the department. We'll be getting him in the fold here in the very not so distant future. Get him up to speed in the transitionary period of me coming out and him coming in. The other thing I would like to make mention of is your fire department officially kicked off the hiring process for firefighter paramedics. We began this process over the past week. We'll be interviewing those candidates. I believe we have a total of 6 candidates that we will be interviewing tomorrow. And once we process them through there, we'll start background checks and the vetting process, things of that nature, getting them in, making sure certifications check out, things of that nature. Hopefully with the goal in mind of getting them on board sometime mid-May. Okay. Any questions?
Is that our target right now, 6?
No, my target is right now 2.
But over a period of time before we're operational in ambulance, we'd like between 6 and 9.
6 and 9 total.
Thank you, Gary.
Thank you.
Agenda item number 8, report from council liaison. A, update on the park April meeting.
So this last meeting was a little busier than normal, and then I'll run down real quick. There's going to be a rain barrel workshop on June 7th that people can pay $25 for and learn how to hook it up and get a rain barrel to take on. It has to be registered with Jim. And the board is asking for another discussion on pollinator gardens, possible code change, which I'll suggest in the event for the agenda next month. And they approved a garden north of plant pollinator garden, prairie plant garden on the north side of the park, all the way up and down there. So that's on the work. And a Monarch Way Station on the east side of the pavilion, between the sidewalk and the pavilion, is also approved. And there's some grant money involved in those things. And the pickleball court bid is back in progress.
Thank you. Okay, 8B, update on the Economic Development Corporation April meeting. Greg?
So we got earlier this month, and discussion centered around our wayfinding signs, and especially the monument sign. And Jennifer and her president are working with the sign companies to make sure that we get this through to completion. It's been long delayed, and they're on it, and they expect things to be resolved by the middle of May. Jennifer gave us a good report on what the staff did to welcome the U.S. Polo Association National Tournament here to Oak Point, which was very successful. The feedback from USPA was that they felt very welcome, and we went above and beyond what they normally would be expecting for an event of their impact. Wayne gave us a great discussion of progress that the staff has made on the Ashlar agreement and future amendments to that, and how that's progressing. And I think those are the high points.
Thank you, Greg. Agenda item number 9, consider an act upon the minutes of the March 19th, 2025 City Council meeting. Is there a motion?
Make a motion to approve the minutes of the March 19th meeting.
Second?
Second.
We have a motion, a second by Mayor Pro Tem. Further discussion? If not, we'll vote. All in favor say aye. Any opposed say nay. The motion passes unanimously. Number 10, report to council on digital sign. Jennifer Henry.
Thank you, Mayor. Earlier this afternoon, I had emailed all of you the quotes from three sign companies, DLC Signs, Watchfire, and Skylar Signs, and Sign Manufacturing Company, with the quotes and some information about taking down the old sign, putting up the new, what it does, that sort of thing. I do have with us tonight Eric Schuyler from Skylar Signs and then Rick Brown from Watchfire. They have their electronic sign out front. Is your picture up there? So anyway, they're here and they're happy to answer any questions that council may have regarding the capabilities, electronic warranty, that sort of thing. So again, Eric and Rick are back here, so.
Would y'all like to come up and speak one at a time? Y'all find out who comes first.
Go ahead.
He's ready.
So y'all are competitors, but you sit next to each other?
No. I am the manufacturer of the board, much like your HVAC, right? Like, I'm the manufacturer of the board. We manufacture in Danville, Illinois. I am the North.
I installed them.
Okay.
Yeah, he's Watchfire's dealer.
Okay.
Okay, so he's the guy that puts it up, services it, and all that good stuff. Okay. I'm here to answer any questions. I mean, currently we're presenting a 3-foot by 7-foot, which fits in the monument structure currently. Brightness level like you see now, it auto dims at night, so it's not obtrusive. It'll dim about 90%. Cloud-based system, so it's not on the network. Whoever your administrator is, which we will set up in the beginning, can give access to the sign, whoever that would be. if there's things that change over in the future, we can retrain, all that good stuff. So we try to.
You're local.
We are built in Danville. I am local. I live in Trophy Club. Yes, ma'am.
So are you familiar with what we have out there now?
I somewhat, yes.
I mean, in terms of technology, age of.
I can. Yeah, the big word would be import.
So can you help us understand what we're going to be gaining by, I don't know when that was purchased, but the
Right.
technology changes between then and what you're bringing?
Yeah. So the one you currently have, I don't think it's manufactured still even around.
Clearly.
Import does that quite often since we obviously materials, the LEDs themselves, certain products of that are globally sourced, but we have 450 employees, 200,000 square feet. That's what we do. Ventilation's a big deal. We make sure they're ventilated and they last like quite a bit longer. We've been in business since 1932, before the LED. We were doing the time and temp units with the incandescent back at the banks and all that stuff. So we've come a long, long way.
So, I mean, but what are you bringing us next? I mean, in terms of resolution, DPS,
Yes,
whatever.
currently we are dialed in for the quotes are 10 millimeter. That means that basically 10 millimeters how far apart the LEDs are. The viewing distance for 10 millimeters is roughly about, you don't want to view it inside, say, 30 feet. Well, the closest point of traffic you have is 50 feet. Okay, so that kind of dials in. Obviously, we could go more, but it drives the budget up and it's really unnecessary. The more LEDs in the space, the obviously more cost, more energy it takes. So we kind of dialed it in at the 10 millimeter, and that's where we went.
So the resolution was big way, I was trying to compare two sign manufacturers. Would resolution be one of the?
Number one, I'll tell you this, number one, import versus non-import, that's number one. Resolution is a key, but resolution is all about distance. Your 8 millimeter is more for a walking traffic. You're going to get within 20, 30 feet. 6 millimeter, obviously closer. The billboard is 19 and 20 millimeter, right? They're very large. You view them from a distance, and they look great. So really, distance, square footage, that's where we kind of dial in from. And then, of course, there's a budget usually.
Is this built from 6x6 panels?
1x1 modules.
1x1.
1x1. And I currently today, when city ordinances are becoming an ordeal 10 years ago, these 1x1s, I'm able to change these 16s that were the thing back 10 years ago. We just go back and slap in an 8 or a 10. And obviously, the big deal is city ordinance, especially Dallas. Dallas has got a 50 square foot ordinance. Well, 10 years ago, you could have 200. Nobody wants to do that. So we were able to do a lot of things like that to beautify the sign, but also ordinance.
What's the software behind it?
Yeah, it's our software. It's a cloud-based system, meaning all the file types I have. It's pretty simple, MP4s, JPEGs, that type of thing.
And it's all included in the.
Oh yeah, no ongoing. It's a Verizon signal. We prepay the data for the life of the sign. It doesn't stream data, so if you're really only using data when you push the content. So normally you'll sit down and schedule the sign maybe monthly, 6 months, weekly, whatever your choice is. So yeah, the data's not a problem. There's no ongoing fees. It's a one and done deal. It's no behind the scenes stuff.
Training for
the life of the sign. You just call me and I'll send you the link, or you can keep the link. If I drive by and it doesn't look great, I'm gonna go, hey man, you got to do something different. This ain't looking great.
You have signs in North Texas, you neighborhood.
I have hundreds of them in DFW, yes. Yeah. I could run a zip code choice, a zip code thing within 5 miles, and I'm sure I do. I'm certain. Yeah, big, large, a lot of cities do tons of cities, tons of schools. Yep.
One thing that was important is the sign is transferable to a new civic center.
Yeah, you can pick it up and move it. It's got a little cell data card with an antenna. Obviously, you need the correct power. I can't move the power, but you gotta have power. But yes, it could be moved. Yes.
It appears that all the manufacturers have a 5-year warranty. Is there any chance of an extended warranty for your company?
Parts warranty, yes, it is. The cost, there's a cost associated with that. I do want to point out one thing without trying to push a sell here, but in the between we were quoted in this week's Eric and I got together and I'm like, hey man, tariffs, right? They're here. Well, 2 weeks ago we had a tariff, that thing went up. It's already up. I got 2 weeks until y'all's quote is up and I can't do anything about it. So I'm not trying to push it, but if I mess with that right now, I can't. I mean, I can, but that cost is gonna go into effect. You follow me? So I can do it for sure, but I can't do anything with the tariff thing.
Well,
It just will not
I
work.
thought you said you were manufacturing. So that's-
We are, but our parts, our LEDs, some of the plastics that are injection molded, some of that stuff is not.
They're all coming from China.
Some all over the place, but some of it, yeah. Most LEDs, and there's tons of them really, but most of them are Shenzhen.
So you're assembling.
Well, depends how you look at that. There's a different method, there's different classifications of that, I guess, in a sense, but we have the equipment that is actually soldering LEDs, or most are bringing in parts and pieces for the full thing.
What is it like?
We're roughly around 10 years. 10 years, I mean, I have some that, like, I'm going to a school district tomorrow, they've had them for 13, 14 years, but I like to say that 10-year mark. Every application I do is a little bit different. Could be the way it's facing, it could be a monster, it could be smaller. The average is around 10 years.
Does the 5-year warranty include labor?
That's,
It's on this, gentleman.
so the parts, 1 year, and then I cover the.
Parts are 5 years.
Yeah, 5 years, and then I'll come out that first year and that's it.
So 1 year labor.
1 year.
Any other questions?
Wayne, what's our next step?
Well, I think that, first of all, let me tell you, I think that the sign that's out there now was in 2014 is when it was installed, somewhere around there, I believe. And then I know after I came in 2019, not long after that, the warranty was out. So that would make sense, it was a 5-year. And it got very expensive then to repair it, and now we can't even get parts. I mean, it's done for, it's dead. This, yeah, this item was meant just to kind of bring you guys information. Skylar Signs was the lowest quote that we got. We've got budget talks coming up, so that's when we thought you would, I didn't know there was a 2-week timeframe. But we thought that during budget talks, you could decide if you wanted to implement that in our next budget year.
So it's not an action item tonight?
No, it's not an action item tonight.
If we miss this 2-week timeframe, when do we expect this is going to increase by?
Right now, we're at 8%. That's all I know right now, I admit, but I get no warning on this stuff. So it's, yeah.
The average is
As-
15.
Yeah, right now, 8, but I don't know what happens tomorrow or next week. I just know the quote date, and we honor it till the quote date, and then it's a review.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks so much for coming tonight.
Sure, absolutely. Thank you, guys. Appreciate the invite. Thank you, Jennifer.
You're welcome. And just for reference, council, we did pay and purchase the existing sign March 2014 at the cost of $16,250. So
Thank you. Good to know. Agenda item number 11, presentation and discussion on a budget calendar. Donna?
I think I was gonna get it. And
Oh, I'm sorry.
are you gonna do it?
No, go right ahead.
Okay.
This is a familiar, I think, schedule, for, your budget for the 2025-26 budget schedule. And, the first, Wednesday, April 16th is the day, and we're here, and the city manager is presenting the budget schedule. So, really, I was just gonna, first of all, just sort of hit the hot topics that will impact the council, I think. The first one is the Tuesday, May 13th. We're gonna have a council workshop and community room from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m.
Okay, so it's May 6th here.
It's been updated to the 13th.
And so,
It's in the package.
I'm sorry, 13th, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Yeah, you did say the 13th, but it says otherwise.
Oh,
It's
okay.
been updated since then.
Yes.
Oh.
enough then. Okay.
Sorry about that.
Wednesday, the budget workshop where the city manager presents it. Well, wait a minute. Yeah, that council workshop community room is for you to tell us what in fact you want done.
Priorities.
Priorities, what you need in the budget, those kinds of things. And then, the next one that I noticed, Wednesday, July 2nd, the budget workshop, city manager presents the initial draft of the budget to the city council. We are going to start now in preparing the budget. We're going to be issuing it to the staff. There's going to be a lot of discussion with the staff, and we're going to be coming up with a initial draft of the budget to present you on July 2nd at the council meeting. We would have a special meeting on Monday, August 4th, the budget workshop, set proposed tax rate and public hearing dates. We have to do that, and there's a time frame, and that's why it's a special meeting that has to be met. And so, that would be Monday, August 4th. Wednesday, August, let's see, 20th, is at a city council meeting, conduct public hearings on the proposed budget. And you have to have those hearings on Wednesday, September 17th, another public hearing on tax rate increase. If the proposed tax rate exceeds a no new revenue rate. You'll also be adopting and that's a typo, 2025-26 budget and tax rate to be considered by the city council. So that is final approval of the budget. We filed the city secretary before October 1st. That's a regulatory requirement. Or otherwise, we're operating on the old budget. So.
That's a very heavy budget with a lot of meetings for staff and for council, so
Absolutely.
thank you for all your diligence and getting so much done.
Do you have any other questions?
I have a question, make a comment. I'm not trying to rub people's nose in, but last year, seemed like we had to change those dates around, because we missed some kind of state deadline or something. How would we make sure that?
We did not
I'm
say
not
aware of, tax assessor's office had an issue, not us.
We had some kind of, we were about
Tax
to-
assessor.
It was tax assessor, not
Not
us.
us.
Okay. Stand corrected?
Correct, Donna?
Wayne,
Yes.
Thank you, Wayne.
Will you be here through the May 13th workshop?
To the May 15th?
May 13th workshop?
the May 13th.
May 3rd, oh, yes.
Tuesday.
Yes,
You're still under contract for them?
yeah, I'm still in contract with them all the way. We're supposed to have, a decision made around the 28th of May.
Okay, so
And that's gonna be,
you will be involved in the budget process?
yeah, see, and that's the key. I'll get down to the preliminary budget finalized by city manager. Whether I'll be here on the 6th, I'll certainly do it before I leave.
Okay.
Or have my input on it before I leave. But at that point, it sort of switches over to the permanent city manager.
Understand, but we appreciate your expertise and your previous experience in going
I'll work on it.
Thanks. Agenda item number 12, consider and act on a resolution to nominate a candidate to serve on the DINCO Board of Managers. Joni?
Okay, it's that time of year again, and this year, the seat that's open belonged to Sue Tennant. Is that how- Yeah. So she is not seeking reappointment. So you have an opportunity to nominate someone if you so desire.
I didn't see a list of applicants or people of interest. It looks like it's not been for a couple months. Can we put it back, repeat it on the
We can.
next agenda?
We
so
can.
we have more time?
Yeah, she didn't send me anything when I inquired, the secretary at DENCO. She just said that, the Sue was not gonna.
Okay. Does anyone on council have an interest in that position?
Just want to send you our votes count by the population. kind of deal.
No, that's,
I work way too many.
it's a lot of meetings though, John, but if you're interested, we can nominate you.
I'll nominate.
Pardon?
No, he's pulling your leg.
I don't think any,
Nominated, great.
I don't think any of us need any extra meetings. We're pretty full. But just in case, if somebody wanted to. Okay, if we can just re-put it on the next agenda, please. Agenda item number 13, discuss and provide direction to city staff regarding topics for the summer 2025 edition of the Country Place Bulletin. Joni?
Okay, well, it's almost time for that again, and we just wanted to get good counsel and see what ideas you had for the summer Country Place edition, Country Place Bulletin edition. I thought that perhaps we would ask our new council member if he would like to do the front page update.
Yes, I bet you'd love to do that.
What am I doing?
Just a little article. So, and you can decline, but you know, usually the new guy gets to do one.
20 pages.
Kind of do an introduction of yourself to the city.
Yeah.
That'll be great, Larry.
When does this due?
Oh,
Yesterday.
we'll give you some grace on the date. And then we will also put out the application for appointment for boards. We do that in all the summer editions. We'll have some Spring Fest pictures, and we'll announce Freedom Fest in that. We usually do something about the vacation watch program that the PD does for the summer. And we'll take suggestions.
May I submit something for emergency management?
Yes.
Thank you.
Where do we leave the printed out or not printed out discussion?
I'm glad you brought that up. This is tangentially related to this, but in respect for Councilman Kulwicki, this being his last meeting, and I know he's passionate about this issue of mailing out the newsletters, and we went through, I know you, Joni, you went through a whole analysis and the cost. I think there might be a middle ground here that we could accomplish, where instead of having citizens request that they get the newsletter mailed or emailed, that we develop an email list and we push this out to our citizens by email, so that they can get it in their inbox instead of having to pull it in either from the city website or through a request to get it mailed. And I think we could do that at a considerably less cost than it would be to print everything.
I like the idea that it's less cost, but I don't know who on staff has the time to prepare an email list of 7,000 people.
Jennifer has some ideas that she was going to present when we do our budget meeting. So she's got some ideas about that, and we might be able to use something, Blackboard Connect, which we already have. So.
And it'd be a process of building that database. I mean, it's not gonna happen probably the first year, but I mean, it's definitely something we can work on and talk more about at the budget meeting.
And
Yeah, we talk about the budget thing, count me as a hard copy behind. I'm not in the hard copy, I don't care if it costs $40,000, we got a lot of money in the budget.
But we need paramedics and an ambulance and a fire station. And everything.
I would prefer mail, but I think it's a better idea, and maybe it is a compromise. One of the things I hear is that it's hard to find.
Right.
And they don't know it's there, they have to go to the site. I get lost on the site once in a while, trying to find things. So that could be a reasonable compromise, get it as
it's a good start.
And build the list. It's not something that has to be perfect the first day. Take the time to build it. But yeah, in a perfect world, I would love to see it mailed at every home. The point about the things we have happening right now is a real.
Thank you.
I will say one thing, I did it in my very informal survey of about 400 people. 2 people responded they wanted a physical copy.
That's money saved. It's the printing and the mailing costs that have gotten so much more expensive.
But I imagine that people who see like news hitting their inbox stop down to read. And I think people who would see our Country Plus newsletter hit their inbox would stop down and read.
Coming in the mails like we just referred.
Okay, agenda item number 14, discussion of short-term rentals. City attorney, city manager, and police chief.
He's on the hot seat.
Jeff, go first.
I've already been on it.
Already been on the hot seat?
Yeah, already been on it.
Well, good evening. I thought I would kind of give just an update on like case law, other city ordinances, litigation involved in those. And so I'll go through a little history. And really, I mean, because every city is kind of looking at short-term rentals, what to do. Last session, the legislature was looking at, some legislation, then they stopped. And so, cities, TML, they're trying to figure out, what's the best path, because you have property interest, constitutional right of, property interest. City attorney, I've been watching this as well. The history, going back to 2019, the city of Austin had passed a short-term rental ordinance. And basically, they had banned short-term rentals in all non-owner occupied single-family residences. And so if no one was in there, you could rent it out. The Austin Court of Appeals struck that ordinance down as unconstitutional, citing, basically vested rights, property interests, and being able to rent your property. In 2021, City of Grapevine, they had their short-term rental ordinance struck down. There was a blanket ban. Now, I'll come back to Grapevine. They revised it, but the 2021 version, had banned short-term rentals throughout the city. And the Fort Worth Court of Appeals found, again, a vested right to lease your property. There's property interest, and they struck down that ordinance as unconstitutional. In 2021, the city of Arlington, they had their short-term rental ordinance upheld. It's one of the few cities where they had their STR, short-term rental ordinance, upheld as constitutional. There, they went through like 20 public hearings, got input from those that wanted to rent, the short-term rentals, those that were opposed to it. They heard from both sides over 20 council meetings. And what they came up with was that the city banned short-term rentals in low-density residential areas and allowed the short-term rentals in the new short-term rental zones and in high to medium density residential areas, basically around Six Flags,
The tourist areas.
the AT&T Stadium, the ballpark in Arlington, that sort of area. And so, so that was one of the few cities where they had their ordinance upheld. That was back in 2021. In 2023, we thought the legislature was going to do something. They had bills filed. Then they dropped them and never passed anything. And so we get to 2025, just February 7th, City of Dallas, they had banned short-term rentals in single-family zoned areas. And the Dallas Court of Appeals struck down that ordinance. Again, it was a temporary injunction. But they enjoined the city from enforcing that ordinance, which prohibited short-term rentals in single-family zone areas. And then, maybe about a little over a month ago, March 11th, 2025, City of Fort Worth. Now, this is a district court ruling. It could be appealed. The City of Fort Worth had banned short-term rentals in all residential districts and allowed short-term rentals in all mixed-use districts, commercial and industrial zoning districts. The district court judge said that they found that the City of Fort Worth could enforce that ordinance. But again, it was they banned in short-term banned in residential districts, allowed it in mixed-use, commercial and industrial districts. And then just a few weeks ago, another district court, this is Tarrant County District Court, City of Grapevine, the city banned short-term, they lost previously in 2021, they revisited their ordinance, and with the rewrite that they banned short-term rentals in single-family zone areas. but allowed it in multifamily residential areas, apartment complexes with at least 50 units. And there, the district court judge upheld the ordinance. And they're in the appeal process, that there could be an appeal of that to the Tarrant County Court of Appeals. I guess we'll have to wait and see. I've had other communities ask me to look at, kind of what are other cities doing. And there's one ordinance, City of Carrollton, where they did some zoning where basically they grandfathered in short-term rentals and what they call bed and breakfast properties. Those that were already in existence when they passed their ordinance, which was February 7th of 2023, they were allowed to continue. Under their ordinance, short-term rental property was a property that is not permanently occupied by the property owner. That, under their ordinance, they call that a short-term rental property. And then a bed and breakfast property is one that is occupied by the owner, but they also rented it out. There, they grandfathered in the pre-existing, said you could continue. But in the future, anybody that wanted to operate, they had to get a special use permit. Special use permit would go through zoning, P&Z, and city council. And so that's, I'm not aware of any case law or any appeal or, court challenge to that so far. So maybe, that's an idea to look at. Legislatively, this legislative session, there's House Bill 5225. I mean, you never know what the legislature's going to do. For the first 3 months, they don't do a lot. In the last 2 months, they hurry up and hear a lot of bills. And House Bill 5225 by Daniel Alders out of Tyler. This is related to the powers of an HOA, that for, short-term rentals in an HOA. And what that, in part, that bill says, it would require the property owner to obtain approval from the HOA before renting the owner's residence as a short-term rental. And so, kind of watching that to see if there's any movement. Let's go through the legislative process, House committee first, and then the Senate committee if it gets out of the House. And they've only got a short time here, but and so that may give some authority to HOAs. There is a Senate Bill 840, and that's by Tan Parker with Brian Hughes out of Tyler, and then House Bill 3404 is the companion bill, and that would add a chapter to the local government code, chapter 218 of the local government code. That chapter only applies to a city with a population greater of 150,000. And it's in a county with a county population greater than 300,000. I think it's aimed at Denton, other similar cities. But in part, it would codify that it would seem to give some authority to cities of those size and those counties to pass regulations on short-term rentals. And what it proposes is a section 218.003 of the local government code that says that this chapter does not affect the authority of a municipality to apply the municipality's regulations on short-term rental units to a mixed-use residential or multifamily residential development. So it seemed to give some legislative statutory authority that allows cities of those size to regulate in that area. And so there's been a lot of litigation. Most cities have lost when you just got a constitutional right to lease your property, and that becomes one of the issues. How's a short-term rental versus a long-time lease? What's the difference? And what some courts have said, well, if you're concerned about sound, if you're concerned about trash, if you're concerned about parking, you have ordinances to address those things. But I mean, every city is facing, the issue of short-term rentals. It's a problem in every city, and everybody's kind of looking to the legislature maybe do something, and following court cases to see how the courts shake out on this. And so everybody's watching it, but it's kind of a difficult issue to tackle because there is a constitutional issue there.
What's changed since the last time we revisited this, in your opinion?
Just some of these decisions here. Yeah, I mean, that's I guess.
I mean, we settled on a certain level of permit charge and fines and things like that.
Yeah.
Do we have any leeway to adjust any of that?
Oh, yeah, I mean, we can always revisit the ordinance, and that's following these court cases, city attorneys like me, we can kind of look for new ideas to see, okay, what will withstand a challenge in court, and so, you look to see what has prevailed and
So
maybe adjust the ordinance accordingly.
The bill regarding HOAs, that seemingly seems to give HOAs the ability to regulate short-term rentals.
Correct.
Does that mean that currently HOAs cannot?
Well, no, I would say those that have it in their CCRs, covenants, conditions, and restrictions, that and it's filed in the deed records, that when you buy that piece of property, in theory, you know what you can do with your property, because it's part of, you're given that at closing. And so those, if you move into an HOA where they restrict short-term rentals, it's filed in the deed records, you buy the property, then there's been some challenges there that, the HOAs have prevailed there, that they bought the property understanding that it had that restriction.
And on that note, if HOA changes their CCRs by vote to not allow that, then that's no.
That's equally valid, yeah, I mean, just, getting the requisite number of people to vote on that can be an issue for HOAs, but, the HOAs, through, it's property interest, if you get that filed in the deed records as a, property restriction, the courts seem to favor those.
So it sounds like our most immediate recourse and option might be to get a little more aggressive on fines and permitting costs.
I mean, right now, let's see what, I would say, see what the legislature does. I mean, it's going to end May 31st. From there, I'm always watching the court cases anyways to see what, happens. And we can come back with an amendment to address the issues.
Can you clarify for us where we are now on permit costs and fines, or?
I have to lean on the permit cost, maybe Wayne can
That would be 500.
Yeah, 500, now, but I have something else I was gonna discuss with you as well.
And, and then in terms of fines for violating any of our.
The zoning issue is 2,000, right?
Yeah, the zoning, I mean, in one community, our firm represents, they had changed the character of their house basically to an event center. It's a huge house. It wasn't being used for single family purposes. It was zoned single family. Now it became an event center where you go to have your wedding or the wedding reception. And so we went after them for zoning. That's a zoning code violation. It's zoned single family. You're using it as basically a commercial use, entertainment use. And so, we went to court and prevailed, and they ended up selling the property, and we got it resolved. But yeah, if there's a zoning violation, we always have the ability to go after for zoning code violations. If you're changing a single family, if it's zoned single family, and now you're using it as an event center, for this discussion, that's a zoning code violation. Now, the issue is proving up that it's an event center, and how do you prove that up versus single family? But and there you get into, there's 50 cars parked there every weekend, there's weddings, and, bands playing, that's the kind of proof that you would need to show that it's no longer single family, it's a different use.
Did you have another point about Grapevine?
Yeah, the follow-up was that, that they allowed, they banned short-term rentals in single family, when they did the rewrite, they banned short-term rentals in single-family residential districts, but allowed it in multifamily residential area apartment complexes with at least 50 units. So it wasn't a blanket ban, they kind of allowed it for multifamily, is what I would call it.
And that doesn't mirror, but it's similar to the Fort Worth.
Somewhat, a little bit, yeah. The blanket bans are really tough to, I mean, started in Austin, and just a blanket ban is not, is probably, that's gonna be a loser.
And is Fort Worth, you said, is a district court?
That was a district court decision.
And is there an appeal or a period before that can be?
Yeah, I mean, let me say from judgment, I think they've got about 30 days.
Jeff, I recently read that the city of Fort Worth has spent more than $400 million in litigation.
400 million?
Yes, short-term rentals. Could that be correct?
I'd
Some
like to
huge
represent
number.
it.
Maybe it's 400,000.
Yeah, it was that'd be amazing. Yeah, but no, it'd be costly. Yeah, that's.
Because they've been in court for some period of time.
Yeah, any litigation, I mean, go through trial, I mean, you got discovery, the trial, then if you're appealing, then you're doing an appellate brief to the appellate court, you're arguing, that's a lot of hours.
We know all about that.
That is a lot of hours.
So I mean, that's why it seems to me that our better path is toward financial impact on the operator, to ensure that there's some pain there in operating this.
Yeah, I mean, almost all these ordinances have a penalty. Yeah, I mean, they all had a penalty, a lot of them did not prevail though. And so you have to kind of, one, not go with a blanket ban, but, maybe look at some sort of mixed use, allowing certain areas. Arlington, they allowed it near Six Flags and, the AT&T Stadium, but throughout most of the city, it's not allowed. So you have to find areas where you can justify the ban.
So back to this Fort Worth situation, district court, if it doesn't get appealed or gets appealed and fail, loses the appeal, then is that a precedent to be followed?
Yeah, I mean, well, each ordinance is always unique. I mean, or generally, each ordinance is unique, and so, as far as, the different ordinance and the decision there, that has some weight, but, each ordinance is gonna be unique and have its own, presumably, some, constitutional issues that the proponents would be raising, that are different than, say, raised in Fort Worth.
Wayne, did you want to make a comment?
Yeah.
Thank you, Jeff.
I wanted just to hand out the actual ordinance that we have. Okay, I think it's good that we all sort of look at it. And the reason that I was going to go over it, there is
Thank you.
on page 3. Okay, I'm not expecting to read the whole article to talk about it, but on page 3, let's talk about what's in yellow. Okay, because I've had citizens come to me that said, well, what can we do? I mean, it seems like there's nothing we can do. And I have to say, I've already discussed it with Jeff, it is in our ordinance, but it has not been litigated. Okay? And so, but I wanted you to be aware of what's in our ordinance. This was the November 2nd, 2023 ordinance passing. And on page 3, says here, we're looking at 40508 C. Upon receipt of an application for renewal of the registration, the director or their designee may deny the renewal if there is reasonable cause to believe that the registrant has pled no contest to or been convicted of a violation of any ordinance of the city or any state or federal law on the premises or is permitted such a violation on the premises by the person. So, and Jeff has a lot of, he knows what he's talking about because it could be very expensive.
but there is, at least on renewal, okay?
And it's an annual renewal, so we have
It's
a
an
chance to
annual
renew.
renewal, that if we have some really, people who are violating our ordinance, you know, over and over again, I think it probably should be something we look at and try to figure out some way to deal with it. But that's gonna be a council issue. I mean, because it is, and I wanted to make you aware of what the ordinance says, and then we'll go from there.
Well, Wayne, and thank you for that, but like you said, if we don't allow renewal, because we say the ordinances have been too many for that resident.
Yeah, it's
then-
an individual issue.
Well, but then they could come and bring it to litigation, correct me if I'm wrong.
Absolutely.
And basically say, hey, and if they win, they could actually get lost revenue from the
Along
city.
those lines.
I'm not certain on that, but it'd be costly to litigate.
Question for Jeff. This is the same section here where if they violate some rule or get ticketed or fined, then we can cancel or not renew it. That's in everybody's SDR ordinances, right? Grapevine, Arlington, they all have some version of this, right?
I mean, you're looking at 4.05008.
Yeah, C through.
Basically, if you get convicted of screwing around with your SDR, then you don't get a renewal.
I think a lot of them have it, but
Yeah, I would think
but not all.
I'd like to focus on 4.05.010. And, you know, we had a very low penalty before, and we moved it up to 500. And I'd like to see us consider revising this to escalate it to, you know, 1,000 for the first offense, 2,000 for the second offense, and third offense, the permit's revoked and not renewed. Something like that.
I'd have to look at that, if there's a legal issue there. I mean, certain city ordinances can be up to 2,000. And I think most of the cities have limited this to 500. Now, a zoning code violation can be up to 2,000. And it can be 2,000 every day. So that house that's become an event center, that can be under, you know, prosecution or municipal court prosecution. That could be a $2,000 criminal offense for violating the zoning code. Now, as far as under the business code, you know, violation of the registration or that may be more of a $500 max, and that's due to state law.
Thank you, that's good to know.
Yeah, the state law kind of ties our hands on some of the fines that we can set, because the Class C misdemeanors, most are 500, some like fire and safety can be up to 2,000, zoning can be 2,000.
Okay, so even if we limit it to whatever that is, but I mean, we've learned that the renters have built this into their cost already, so they've covered that cost. So, repeated violations, can we?
Each and every day can be an offense.
But can we put something in there to, at some point?
To escalate it?
No, revoke the permit.
Sure, yeah, I mean, yeah, that's what a number of communities have done. I think that ordinance even, I mean, refers to repeated money. So, yeah, I mean, it's something we can look at.
So, okay. I'd like to get this on the agenda for next month so that we can start considering what we can make changes to.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Thank you both.
Agenda item number 15, recess into closed session in compliance with section 551.001 at Texas Government Code with A, real estate, section 551.072, real property, to deliberate the purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property. Approval going into closed session at 7:34 p.m.
Oh, yeah. That means that one.